Welcome to the Explainer. Sometimes a single ancient sentence can hold a key to navigating our incredibly complex modern lives. Today, we're unlocking one of those keys. It's a verse from the Bhagavad Gita that tackles ambition, anxiety, and the very nature of action head-on.
So here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll hear the verse itself. Then, we'll decode what those ancient words really mean. After that, we'll jump into the dramatic story behind it, see how it applies to our lives today, and finally, get to the heart of what it means to be truly free from the results of our actions.
All right, let's dive in. Before we start picking it apart and analyzing it, there's a real power in just hearing it, experiencing it in its original form, in the ancient sounds of Sanskrit. So this is it, verse 47 from the second chapter in its original Devanagari script. Now, of course, most of us don't read Devanagari, so to really get a feel for the sound and rhythm, a transliteration helps a ton.
Here's that first line, which helps us connect with the sound of the verse. It goes, Karmanyevadhikaraste ma pale shukadachana.
And here's the second line that completes this powerful idea. Ma karma palahe tubur ma te sango stvi akarmani. Okay, so now that we have the sound of it in our minds, let's get to the big question. What do these words actually mean?
So what is this verse really telling us? The best way to understand it without anyone else's interpretation getting in the way is to just break it down, piece by piece. Let's look at the very first part. The verse kicks off by telling you exactly where your power lies. It says your adhikara, your right, your domain, what you control, is karmani. It's in the action itself. It's in the work you are doing in this very moment.
And then, boom, it immediately draws a hard line. It says when it comes to the phaleshu, the fruits, the results of that action, your right is ma kadachana. Never. You have authority over the action, but never over the outcome. That idea alone is, well, it's pretty radical, and honestly, incredibly free.
Finally, it gives us two really important warnings. First, don't let the desire for a specific reward be the only reason you act. And second, don't develop a sangha, an attachment to akarmani, which means inaction. So this is absolutely not a call to just sit back and do nothing. Not at all.
But why was this said in the first place? You have to understand, these words weren't spoken in some peaceful classroom or quiet monastery. They were spoken on a battlefield. And that context, it changes everything. It's what gives this verse its incredible power.
This is the question at the very heart of the Gita. It's the question tearing apart the warrior Arjuna. He's on the brink of a massive battle, and when he looks across the field, he sees his cousins, his teachers, his friends, and he just freezes. He is completely paralyzed by an impossible moral crisis.
I mean, can you imagine? This isn't some abstract philosophical puzzle. His duty, his dharma, is telling him to fight, but his heart, his attachments, are screaming at him to stop. This wisdom wasn't born from quiet contemplation. It was forged in the fire of an intense, relatable, human struggle. So, how does a dilemma on an ancient battlefield have anything to do with us? Well, it translates almost perfectly to the pressures we all face in our jobs, our relationships, our personal goals. But before we can use this wisdom, we have to get past a really common misunderstanding.
Yeah, this is the big one. This is how the verse is so often misunderstood, as if it's telling us to just be indifferent, to not care. Maybe that's so popular because our world is so obsessed with results, promotions, quarterly earnings, the number of likes, that the only alternative seems to be to just check out completely. But that's not what it's saying.
So here's the crucial shift. This isn't about apathy. It's about changing your focus. It's about detaching from an obsession with a specific outcome, which, let's be honest, is often out of our hands anyway, and instead attaching to the quality and the discipline of your actions, which are always within your control.
And once you see it this way, you realize this applies everywhere, right? In fitness, you can control showing up for the workout. You can't completely control the number on the scale. In business, you can control the quality of your product. You can't control the market's reaction. It's a simple shift that transforms all that anxiety about the future into real power and presence, right here, right now.
And this brings us to the real goal here. Because this isn't just a life hack for managing stress, it's a pathway to something much deeper, a profound sense of inner freedom. This makes the distinction so clear, doesn't it? The Gita is not saying don't plan or don't have goals. Of course you should. But it is saying don't let the outcome control your emotions. Don't let fear of failure stop you from acting. And maybe most importantly, don't attach your self-worth to whether you win or lose. Your value is in the effort, not the trophy. Ultimately, this verse isn't asking you to step away from the world. It's asking you to step deeper into it, to focus so completely on the action, on the process, that the anxiety about success or failure just falls away. When you give everything you have to the work itself, the results lose their power over you. And that, right there, is freedom.